Joe's just getting it queued up there. Are we on, Joe? We're on. We're on. We're live, both here and virtually. So good to see some folks here this morning. You know, these are days where we never know. It might be a dozen of us. It might be 25 of us. There's always some folks out in virtual world, too. So let's just say a rousing good morning to one another. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you all. It's a beautiful summer day. I love that storm yesterday. Was it up here in Delaware too? Yeah. Nice big storm, and it watered the earth nicely, and held off the heat one more day. It is going to get a little hot today and for the days ahead. So good to see you all. Good to see you folks out in virtual land. I like to start with some funny little things, and I was going to talk a little bit about language. I love learning new words and new language, and was thinking about how language has changed, what things meant in the past isn't what they mean now, and so on. Like, and the whole introduction of computers into our lives, which, you know, personal computers, it's only been 20, 25 years, wouldn't you say? Something like that. You know, a program used to be just a TV show. Not that anymore. An application was something you used to get a job. A cursor was someone who used profanity. It's true. A keyboard was just a piano. A CD was a bank account. Remember those? Yeah. And a hard drive was a long trip on the road. All right. And then I like these things. Former hippies like Joe and I think there might be a few others in the house, how things have changed, words, what they mean between 1968 and now. Say, you know, we used to talk about acid rock, and now it's acid reflux. Tell me about it. Yeah. And we used to talk about seeds and stems. Remember talking about seeds and stems? Now we talk about roughage and fiber. We talked about disco back then, and now we talk more about Costco, right, Dorothy? Talk about Costco. And it used to be a big emphasis in those days on passing the driver's test. Now it's passing that vision test. Keep that license. And we used to talk about going to a new hip joint. Now we're getting a new hip joint. Language changes as culture changes, as we change. So anyway, good to see you all. As you know, we've always had masks available at the entrance and sanitizers, so take advantage of anything like that if you like. And Joe and I are your musicians today. So Joe is wearing a lot of hats today, and so I'm going to have him come on up as we start to think about prayer and going into prayer together. We're very inclusive in our prayers, including ourselves always, our loved ones, our community, our country, our world, all the living beings across the earth. Many of you may have noticed we have that lovely little Joys and Concerns candle lighting table back there. At any point, even when you get here early or after the service, if you want to light a candle to kind of signify something you are lifting up in the light in prayer, you're invited to do that at any time back there. We're using a prayer song. It's one of ours. It's called Turn Around. Very easy chant. Join in with us. It's really about hearing and feeling the presence of God, the voice of God all around us. Turn around and you'll find me waiting, my love, my love. Turn around and you'll find me waiting, my love. Always near, always deep within thee, always here, I will never leave thee. Turn around and you'll find me waiting, my love. Turn around and you'll hear my music, my love, my love. Turn around and you'll hear my music, my love. Always near, always deep within thee, always here, I will never leave thee. Turn around and you'll hear my music, my love. Turn around and you'll feel my heartbeat, my love, my love. Turn around and you'll feel my heartbeat, my love. Always near, always deep within thee, always here, I will never leave thee. within thee, always here, I will never leave thee. Turn around and you'll find me waiting, my love. Turn around and you'll find me waiting, my love. Let's close our eyes for a moment and allow ourselves to become very centered and still and aware of that presence of God in us, all around us, flowing through us steadily. We affirm our awareness in this moment. We have never been separate from God at any moment in our lives, and never will be. We live and move and have our being within the power and presence of God. We affirm our understanding that God is flowing through us ceaselessly as healing energy, as renewing life, healing and mending us in ways we're not even aware of, in body, in mind, in spirit. We affirm our understanding that God has been guiding us moment by moment, by day and by night, leading us in the path of life, of peace, of wisdom, of abundant life. God's guidance is as close as a breath. God's wisdom arising in our minds, God's love in our hearts, God's peace available to us in all circumstances, under all conditions, to steady and strengthen us as we move forward. We affirm this highest of all truths for everyone in our circle this morning, for all those listening to us online, for everyone in our community or across our country, for living beings across the globe. We are one with the living God that makes all things possible. So we come out of this time of prayer together with grateful hearts and minds, knowing it is so. And so it is. Amen. Right. Well, Jill and I had I have trouble picking songs. So many good songs out there to pick from. And we're going to do one. Actually, it's a Peter Mayer song. Y'all remember Peter Mayer? He even visited the church a few years ago, maybe now. Wonderful singer-songwriter from Minnesota. I think it's Minnesota. And we love this song by him. I think we've done it over the past year when we were doing services from home. All the World is One. I think you'll remember it as we get going with it.
Stand apart, put a fence around your yard. You can build a tall rampart and guard it with a gun. You can dig yourself a moat, burn the bridge and burn the boat. Won't matter that much, you know, 'cause all the world is one. All the world is one. You can march in a big parade every Independence Day. You can raise up your own flag and sing your own anthem. It will ring out in the air with all the other anthems there, till the winds of the earth declare that all the world is one. All the world is one. Go and ask the Buddha when he's sitting under a tree. Go ask Walt Whitman when he's looking out at the sea. Ask Alan Shepard when he's standing up on the moon, staring at that pearl of blue. Ask an atom in the breath you take. Ask the water by the riverbank. Ask a strand of DNA, it's written in your blood. One life running in your veins, one life from one big bang. You can try and separate it, but all the world is one. All the world is one. Go and ask the Buddha when he's sitting under a tree. Ask Annie Dillard when she's up on Tinker Creek. Ask Alan Shepard when he's standing up on the moon, staring at that pearl of moon. You could take an outbound train, try and make a getaway. You could ride off like John Wayne into the setting sun. But earthlings don't leave town, they just go round and round until they figure out that all the world is one. All the world is one. All the world is one. All the world is one.
Yeah. Good job, Joe. Great song. All right, we'll let him go back over and put his other hat on, his audio-visual hat over there. Yeah. Thank you.
I need more hats.
I love that song. All the world is one. And we're sort of learning that lesson again and again in life in different ways, I think. Our interdependence, our connections with one another. So I kind of stumbled on a new language this week, and it's kind of triggered all these reflections sort of along this theme. But some of you who maybe are more familiar with carpentry and construction than I am might be familiar with this definition of new meaning for the word sistering. It was new to me that in carpentry and construction, that's a term, sistering, and it means to kind of lay one big beam along another, like a floor, some kind of a joist, and you put one along another which is maybe too weak, needs more stability, more support, more strength, and you lay one beam right alongside the other one to lend support to it and bind them together so they're alongside each other for greater stability and support and strength. And I thought, well, that's how wonderful sistering in carpentry has that meaning, and it's equally important in life. It's the same very idea in life, just as common a thing and just as important. You know, children kind of learn early in life, or at least I assume they're still being taught that, you know, kind of join hands and to cross the street, look both ways, you know. You go through dangerous situations better, joined up alongside each other. Or even, I remember being like an elephant when you were a kid. You're going in a crowd and you don't want anyone to get lost, any of the kids, so they kind of take hands in front and back like elephants, you know, with their, what do you call the front part of an elephant? The trunk. The trunk. With their trunk and tail or whatever. Kids were taught to do that, to go through dangerous or crowded situations to stay safe and to have more stability. Well, we need to, you know, remember that very basic truth, too, that we do better going through challenging times together, lending each other's our strength and stability. And I think we Americans particularly need to know that because we're a country that, you know, it's particularly prided itself on our individuality and our independence. Would you agree? We're really taught that early in life, I think. And as a result, we tend to, as we get older, kind of forget those early child lessons. And we tend to think we've got to do it on our own, you know, nose to the grindstone, full speed ahead, determination. And we take too much on. We burden ourselves by taking too much responsibility on, by not receiving enough help. We blame ourselves too much for not being able to do things all on our own. So I think we particularly need to remember this basic truth about sistering right now. I think that we've been through you know, a year, more than a year, you know, kind of reminding how interdependent we are, how we need each other to stay healthy and well. And so I think as we're kind of emerging from this time and beginning to come out more, very tentatively, very gradually, a few starts and stops in the process. But as we're sort of making sense of what we've been through and deciding how to move forward from here, I think it's a good time to reflect on the extent to which we can help one another and lend each other support and strength going forward. It's certainly in all our spiritual teachings, our faith traditions, this teaching about our need for each other and our need to help each other. Teachings about empathy and compassion and mutual support. All our faith traditions have them. In Christianity, of course, Jesus' only commandment that's in the Gospels was to love God with your whole heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Same idea. Not just yourself, love your neighbor as yourself. We're in it together. A lot of teachings in the Gospels about compassion, about giving and receiving. The lovely little passage from Matthew 10 about if you but give a cup of cold water to one of these little ones, you will have your reward. There's a reward from the slightest gift of support for another. In Buddhism, very powerful idea, the importance of spiritual friendship as we grow, as we become more enlightened, as we become wiser. The Sangha, which is a word for the spiritual community, the community of disciples or believers or seekers, was in Buddhism. The Sangha is one of the three jewels of Buddhism, one of the pinnacles of their faith. The three jewels are the Buddha, the way shower, we would say the Christ, and the Dharma, which is the truth teachings. The body of truth teachings is the Dharma, and the Sangha, the community of seekers that you're a part of. The three jewels of Buddhism. So our friendships, our compassion, our support for one another, critical in that faith tradition as well. I think it's in all of our faith traditions, this emphasis on helping one another, not having to do it alone, lending each other support and strength as we go along. So how do we practice that better so that we have more of a feeling of being supported, sharing our support and strength with one another? It makes all our lives easier when we do that, when we give and receive it freely and abundantly in our lives. So I started thinking about all the people in my life who sistered me, who were and particularly I was thinking about intergenerational friendships, friends and relatives, people a little older than I, sistering me, coming alongside me with some helpful guidance or advice or wisdom or insight that really helped me along the way. We all have a lot of them in our lives. We don't always pause to think about them, how many there have been. So I was thinking of a few of mine. Maybe it'll trigger some recollections for you as well. I've learned so much from others about life, about how to face life with more courage, with more authenticity, how to deal with life's risks, with the vulnerability of life, how to let things be in life, how not to demand or expect perfection in life. All those kinds of lessons from people who have come alongside me with some sistering support. I was thinking, for instance, of a friend passed a year or so ago, Rose, who helped me with my gardening a little bit. She came over and advised me about my perennial garden beds and actually planted some things for me. And we were planting something, and I was complaining about the heavy clay Ohio soil. How many of you have heavy clay Ohio soil? We all work with it. And she didn't fuss with it too much. She didn't get too crazy with the additives and stuff like that. She said, "No, you're planting native plants. This is the earth it's meant to grow in. Don't fret over it. Don't fuss over it. It'll be all right. And don't fret or fuss over the weeding. Don't do it when you can. Don't worry about getting them all. And don't worry about the holes the little caterpillars make in your hosta leaves and the other things. It's all a part of the piece out here. It's all a part of life in the garden. And don't insist on too much neatness and perfection, or you'll take the life out of it." And it is the truth. Powerful lessons about the garden, but also about life. The very same truths apply in life. If we're too insistent on perfection and order and everything being just the way we demand, we will take the life out of it. We will take the life out of it. Wonderful sistering, wonderful lessons. I was thinking about my wonderful aunts. I was blessed to have wonderful aunts, Aunt Jane, Aunt Doris, Aunt Helen. And I remember Aunt Jane, who was an honored, she was a nurse in the front lines in World War II in Italy, courageous, strong woman, and a model in my life. And later in life, she began to have some memory problems, indication of the Alzheimer's that was to come, and that she did die from several years later. But in the early stages of it, I remember talking with her about it, and she said, "Well, none of us knows what's going to happen to us." And at the time, in my 20s, I thought, wow, that's kind of a shocking thing to get your mind around. None of us knows what's going to happen to us. And she sounded philosophical. She sounded like it's something she understood about life. The vulnerability of it, the risk we take, we sign up for when we're born into this realm. And that wisdom was with her, and she was supported and surrounded by love the rest of her life. Lots of deep lessons from the sistering in my life. I remember the other time, probably in my mid-20s, I was just really trying to get my feet under me, dealing with a lot of depression, and I went to a minister, a powerful new minister in my life, Reverend Ed Tuttle. And I was dealing with a lot of depressive thoughts and going on and on and on about them, a great litany of woes. And at a certain point in the conversation, Reverend Ed said, I've just got to ask you, the line your thoughts are in so much of the time, what's the payoff? What's the payoff? And it was the first time it had really come clear to me. He's suggesting I can choose. I can stop my mind from going this way. We are given by our Creator the capacity to manage our thoughts. And I need to take that up. I need to take that power up more. Ooh, that's a deep lesson. Somebody coming alongside me for a moment there, lending me that sistering support, that extra stability and strength. In my life, I suspect in yours too, there have been a lot of, sometimes it's just for a moment, a word of encouragement, a bit of advice, something you see somebody else doing, maybe you just witness, and we're in this together. And guidance is coming at us from all sides if our antennae are up and we're ready to receive, and we're not just nose to grindstone thinking we've got to do it all and figure it all out ourselves. If we're up and listening and looking around, guidance is going to be coming to us daily. And I think that's true for all of us. And those of us who are getting a little older, anyone else getting a little older? Those of us who are getting a little older, I think there's an inner call to become the elder. There's an inner urge to begin to share a little bit of what you've gained, what you've received along the line, to maybe lighten the load a little bit for someone else. I'm learning you have to be a little careful about that. Not everybody wants my advice. It's hard to believe, but big grown-up people, adults making their own way in life, they may not necessarily want my advice. But there are ways just by how we show up, or something we share, like my Aunt Jane, or Reverend Ed, or my friend Rose, some words that stick with us and wind up really lending us a good deal more strength and support going forward. So I was really pleased with that. I caught a story on, I think it was CBS Sunday Morning last week, about an author. He's a children's book author now. He's actually a professor of sociology. I think his expertise is in social mobility at a college in Connecticut. His name's Bob McKinnon. And he's just written a little companion book for the children's classic. Do you remember The Little Engine That Could? Pretty much everybody's nodding there. Had a little engine that could, a little blue engine. That's 90 years old, that book. It's hard to believe how old that book is now. And it was a lovely book, but Bob McKinnon, with his expertise and his interest in social mobility, he felt like a companion volume was needed for kids. And he's written a book, it's very popular right now. I just ordered a copy. I want to share it with my nieces and nephews so they can share it with their children, called The Three Little Engines. Three Little Engines. And Bob McKinnon, the author's thought was, that original classic, it was great. It taught a wonderful lesson about determination and perseverance. If you remember it, that's like a little blue engine, a little engine that could. It was like, I think I can, I think I can, I think. I've got to make it sound like a train, right? I think I can, I think I can, in order to get up over that mountain. And he does, through determination and diligence and perseverance. So it's a wonderful lesson in life about that, that as we work hard and persevere, we can get over the mountains in our lives. But we also all need a little help. And that's not in that original version. And Bob McKinnon thought we really need that. And it really came out of his own life experience, in his own bio. He had grown up in a single-parent home. His mother raised him. They were very poor, a lot of challenges, a lot of rough times coming up. But nevertheless, he did well in school, and he had a lot of opportunities. A lot of things came his way, and he wound up being the first college grad in his family, and getting a good job, and which was all he was happy about. But he also said he also felt guilty, and he also felt kind of angry about all the other kids he grew up with. and all the other folks he knew that didn't get those same opportunities. And they worked hard too. And for circumstances beyond their control, they weren't able to get up and over those mountains that came their way. And he felt like, you know, he needed to recognize that. He was very much aware of how much help he had gotten. At one point in his life, he made a long list of everyone that had helped him his whole life. He made a list of it. Everyone who had sistered him, in a way, come alongside, lending some support and strength. And it really left him with in amazement and gratitude, and with this apparently inner calling to sister somebody else, because he wrote this book for kids that he thought was really needed. And in the Three Little Engines, his book, there's still the little blue engine going up, you know, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, still doing that. There's also this like red freight engine, and there's this yellow passenger train engine, and they're all running on their own tracks. And the other two trains have trouble. Branches of big trees falling on the tracks so they can't go, huge winds or storms coming up so that they get blown off. And the big plot twist in this rendition, in the Three Little Engines, is that the little blue engine turns around to go back and help her friends, the other trains. And they all go over the mountain together. And when Bob McKinnon does book readings for children, that's where the children all applaud, is when the blue engine goes back and helps, and they all head up over the mountain together. I love that. It reminded me of a story a few years ago from the Special Olympics. Did you all track that story? I was going to look it up again, but it was about a bunch of kids. They were running a race, and one of the little boys in the race fell and got scraped up and was crying. And all the kids stopped and went back, helped him up, dusted him off, and they all finished the race holding hands together. Lovely. Children get it a lot better than us adults so often. But I loved this author, Bob McKinnon, Three Little Engines, his way of summing things up, you know, and why he wrote that book and why it's important. He said, you know, it makes sense and it's natural when we're moving through life to be looking straight ahead, you know, and working on what we're working on, and, you know, trying to move towards success, to get over that mountain ahead of us. But he said, we also need, it's just as important, we really need also to be looking this way and thinking, I'm okay, but how's everyone else doing? How's everyone else doing? We're all going to get over that mountain together, and we'll do better if we lend each other some sistering support, some extra strength and support. We're all going to need it at certain times, and we've all gotten it throughout our lives. So how we practice it every day, I thought, well, that's a good place to start, is follow Bob McKinnon's advice and make a list of all the sistering you've received in your life. Men, women, old, young, children, throughout your life. Make a list of people who said things or did things or modeled things for you that meant something to you, that were helpful, that were a source of support and strength in a time when you needed it. You'll be amazed too, I think, at how many things come to mind. I think we practice it by being aware we're receiving all the time, and be alert for that, ready to receive it, and be grateful for it as it comes. The more we do that, the more it comes. Gratitude stimulates the flow, never fails. However much gratitude you express, you get more and more to be grateful for. Has anyone else ever experienced that? It's a principle of life. And find ways to sister others, to lend a little sistering support to others. God will guide you in that process. Ideas will occur. People will be brought into your sphere that you can offer something to, a word of encouragement or advice, something that it'll come to you at the time, because the invisible divine hand is in the midst of it all of our lives, of all the guidance and the sistering we've gotten in the past. There's been an invisible divine hand in that, how you happen to find your way to some guidance you needed at just the right time. It's going on now, and it'll guide you in that process, and you can sister someone else in a way that could make a huge difference in their lives. We give and we receive, and we are alert to God's guidance, moving forward, heading up over those mountains together. Let's take that into a prayer for a moment. How grateful we are that God is alive and at work in each of our lives, moment by moment, an unfailing power and presence that we cannot be disconnected from. We are alert to God's guidance flowing to us from all directions, through the words of others, through opportunities that arise, invitations that come, insights that come to us by day and by night. We are alert to receive, and we are ready to give, helping one another facing the challenges of life together for greater strength and power and joy and abundant life. Thank you, God, for your unfailing presence with us now and always. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. All right. We just take a moment here, and then Joe and I will do another song for you in closing. But we always want to take a moment to thank everyone for the support coming in, those of you here in the sanctuary, those of you out there. It's an interesting new era in church work in that gifts come in by PayPal now. They come in by check. They come in right here in gifts in the love offering baskets we have here at the sanctuary. We have them on the back tables if you want to give a gift today. We always like to affirm our affirmation of abundance as we recognize that generosity that's flowing our way week by week. So join me in it if you know it. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. So it is. All right, I'm going to ask Joe to come on back up, and we're going to do another song for you. I know many of you, especially those of you who've been here at Unity of Delaware for a while, you'll remember this song, Devotion. Remember the duo group Devotion? I think they even visited Unity Church of Delaware in the past. And this was written by Robert Anderson of that duo back then, and we've done it off and on over the years. It's called We Are One. Seems perfect. Oh, I play a little egg on this, don't I?
You do play egg.
This is my fancy percussion.
It's her little green egg.
My little green egg. Instead of my little green tambourine.
Which is another song. Like.
All right, so if you want to join us on it, you want to catch on to the chorus, feel free to. Remember this now.
Away, 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 away. We are one in the Spirit. We are one in this world. We are one in the Spirit. Everybody, every soul, everywhere we turn.
Well, life is going to change when inside we change and take that journey to the heart. You are my brother, you are my sister, and neither one of us can live apart.
We are one in the Spirit.
You can sing that.
We are one in this world. We are one in the Spirit. Everybody, every soul, everywhere we turn.
So as you take yourself, give back to someone else. All the nations here belong. Tear down and